I'm not too crazy about dynamic numbers anyway. The dynamic numbers could mean something, but at the same time, if the dynamic number is like extremely high and the actual test is a lot lower, from what I've been gathering is that it's the power supply section not able to keep up, you know, and everybody's going to have their opinion on it. Really, I'm not an amp designer. I see it in a lot of kicker amps, like, yeah, they're going to do more on a dynamic test because the resistance is for milliseconds, like they list in the manual here. Like it's quick, instantaneous, 400 millisecond, you know, and that's a drum kick, and that's it. So yeah, it's going to do more, but how much more, you know? And why isn't that power supply able to do that on a sine wave? Really, that amplifier should do more, in a sense, if it's like a huge gap between the two. That's what I've gathered. So, and it does 5,000. And again, if the burst sheet says 4,601 ohm and they have it rated here 3,601, meanwhile the burst sheet says 4,600. I mean, and then the dynamic is 5,000. That's more where you want to have it. In my opinion, whatever you think is right, because that's what it's going to be. If there's not too much difference between RMS and dynamic, that means that the amp is fully gassed all the time with no headroom, not good. Right, you don't want an amplifier that has no dynamic difference, because then I almost feel like those are like super regulated in some way. You see it a lot on like home stereo systems. I don't know. I've seen it a lot on Derek's channel where it's like he did a dynamic number and it was like a 24 or 48 volt little like headphone radio kind of thing, or, you know, amplifier, something weird, and it would do the same power dynamic as it would like uncertified, you know. So and there are negatives with that. I'm just saying, you know, you see it all the time. A 1,500 watt amplifier and it does 3,600 dynamic. People just start pulling out their wallets, you know, like it means that much. Means something, just not that much. I don't think it does. But it's cool that they put that on there as peak power, dynamic power instead. Because they always put peak power on the CX and the DX line, never on the KX or, you know, that stuff. Because a lot of people look at that. They're like, I just want to know how many watts it'll do. You know, I got a 2,000 watt amplifier and that's how much power I got. Meanwhile, they probably clamp 700, you know, and they don't know that. But they just look at the numbers and that makes sense. But for the Warhorse, to have it like that on there with the dynamic power, and they're slowly changing that to a lot of other SKUs, I think it's awesome. It really is. But there's a lot of people out there, I'm not going to lie to you guys, we are the 1% that actually know that peak power only means so much. But there's a lot more of them that do believe it means something, and they're going to buy it. Yes, maybe because it's got a little bit more quality or less, or they don't care, it's just cheaper, it's got more W's, more watts, that peak watt rating. You see it all the time on Temu or however you call it, and it's like a 6,000 watt boombox peak. One, what? And two, that peak power, man. People just look at it. That's what they need. They want that. Cody, thanks again for hanging out with us. Will a Solo X, one Solo X fit in a 2.57 cubic foot box tuned to 32? Yeah, honestly, I mean, Kicker recommended specs is 3 cubes plus port, give or take some change, and if you stay within that realm, you'll be totally fine. Like mine's 2.4 cubes plus port, but I got more port, so it almost equates to the same as Kicker recommended spec of just volume. But, you know, with that small amount of difference, I don't think it's going to make a big deal. Honestly, I think Drew Jones got his in 2.2 cubes, even smaller. So I think 2.5 is still a money ball. You know, like it's a good box size for that 12. Big time. Jay Lee, thanks for hanging out. I wonder how a Solo would perform in a sealed box. I know it's not recommended, but I wonder if the Kicker peeps put it in one to test, and they actually did. Sorry, my glasses are fogging up. I'm talking way too fast. A lot of hot air in here. John Myers that we had on Kicking It with Andy not even a month ago, he actually put one in a sealed box, and he said it sounds really good. You know, and I feel like that's kind of like any driver that can, to a point. But again, you know, this is an SPL, it's meant to just move air, okay? This one was designed a little bit differently, still SPL oriented, but again, you can put that in a sealed box and it sounds amazing. Now this one's probably a little bit even more on the SPL side just because of that huge surround, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of moving mass, and just how it's designed and how sound waves are made and whatever for SQ kind of things. You know, I'm not a professional with that whatsoever. I don't claim to be either. But could it sound good in a sealed box? Yeah. Do they have that on the site? No. But could you do it? Sure. But that driver really wasn't designed to do that. Just like the old school kicker solo barracks, like the OGs, and like you could not put them into a ported box. And the main reason behind that is because there wasn't a thing called an infrasonic filter. They had a very loose suspension. They would lose control. They needed that sealed chamber to keep it from unloading. So that's why they never recommended a ported box for it. So you could do it for this 100%. Now, are you going to get less output? Yes, because it's a sealed box versus ported. But are you still going to get a nice sound out of your bass? Because it's a kicker subwoofer, it's going to do both. it's going to do both. It's not just leaned one way. You know, it's not just only SPL driver meant for thousands of watts and moving tons of air. That's its main goal in life, but it can also take out the trash. Feels like me, you know? Mostly balanced. Catch the Livin Loud with Andy show every Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 or 10 o'clock Eastern. Smash the like and subscribe.